Good morning students. Now here is your Seema ma'am again. Before our session starts, I would like to share one information. You might have seen in today's news that Gujarat Biotechnological Research Institute has found out the new genome sequence against coronavirus. Now soon we will be getting the new vaccine against this coronavirus. Okay, so this is a good news for all. So till then you just follow the instruction that is given by our government. Stay home, stay safe. Now let's start our session, that is about the sexual reproduction. Lastly, we have discussed about the difference between the asexual and sexual reproduction and what was the lifespan. Now, starting with the sexual reproduction, it involves the formation of gametes, that is, male and female gametes. After the formation of the gametes will fuse and it will lead to the formation of zygote. Zygote will undergo further division and it will develop into the embryo. Now, let's revise what are the characteristics of the sexual reproduction. Shortly, sexual reproduction involves fusion of gametes which results into the formation of zygote. Then it will lead to the formation of embryo and then the embryo will develop into the adult organism. Other characteristics include whatever the individuals that are formed as a result of sexual reproduction, these individuals show the differences that are different from the parental. As we have discussed in the asexual mode of reproduction, that individuals, they are the exact copy of the parents, whereas in sexual reproduction there is a differences and characters are there in the individual's form. So they are slightly showing the differences. Now let's see what happens after this sexual reproduction. Now there comes one of the phase that is regarded as juvenile phase. It is also termed as the vegetative phase in the plants. Now what is this juvenile phase? This phase is for the animals, that is the period of growth and maturity before the reproductive phase starts in the organism is referred to as juvenile phase. Now after this juvenile phase means it is the end of the, you can say, growth period. After that the reproductive phase will start. Whereas the same phase for the plants, it is referred to as vegetative phase. Now there are few examples are there that many plants are there that are undergoing the flowering period exceptionally. For example, one example is of bamboo species is there. It is flowering after 50 to 100 years. Then it is doing the flowering and then finally the plants, they are dying. So this phase is known as the aging period or the senescence period. Similarly, one of the exception in the other plant that is known as Strobilanthus kunthiana, commonly it is known as Neela Kuranji. It is flowering or it gets flower once in 12 years. And whenever it shows its flowering period, what happens? The whole area becomes bluish in color. Normally this flower shows its flowering period between the September and October month. So this was the examples are there. These are the exceptions are there. Now we will see some of the organisms are there. They are showing some of the changes during their reproductive phases. So which are these changes and what are these changes known as? There are two type of organisms are there. One is primate and one is non-primate. Now females of the placental mammals, they experience certain changes in their ovary, reproductive ducts and also hormonal changes they experience during their reproductive phase, and such type of changes whenever they shows in the reproductive phase is known as menstrual cycle that happens in case of mammals. Whereas another group of organisms are there, for example cow, sheep, tiger, dog, etc. They are showing the changes during the certain period of the reproductive phase and they are not showing any kind of extra embryonic layer such as placenta in case of the females of the mammals are there. They are not having any such layers. So they are experiencing changes during certain phase of reproductive phase and they are this phase is known as oestrous cycle. So this is the difference between the menstrual cycle and the oestrous cycle. This you have to remember from the NCERT point of view. Now next comes what are seasonal breeders and what are continuous breeders. Some of the organisms, they are active throughout the reproductive phase. Active means they are remaining reproductively active throughout the year. So they are known as continuous breeders. Whereas some of the organisms, they are known as seasonal breeders, means they show some of the cyclic changes only during few seasons, and they are known as the seasonal breeders. So these were the points that includes in the sexual reproduction. Now after the reproductive phase, there comes the phase that is known as the phase of aging, or it is also known as the senescence period. Phase of aging and the senescence period. Now what happens in this senescence phase, or it is also known as aging period? First, the metabolism gets slower. Now how the metabolism gets slower? As our immunity gets lower down, our metabolism goes down. Also, the concentration of the hormones in the body gets lower down, and that we call the old age. And finally, the old age will lead to the death, which is the universal fact of the life. So students, this was all about the sexual reproduction, that we have seen the characteristics, what is juvenile phase, what is vegetative phase. We have seen few examples. Then we have seen the menstrual cycle, oestrous cycle, continuous breeders, seasonal breeders, and what is aging and senescence process. Next, we will cover about the phases of the sexual reproduction, means what are the events that are included in the sexual reproduction. So that's all for today. We will continue in the next video. Thank you, students.